This is unbelievable.
Wind whipped flames engulf wine country. A sudden firestorm tears through neighborhoods, a wildfire unlike any other.
I've seen fires like this, but not like this one.
With just minutes to get out alive.
Come on, she's disabled. All right, let me get her feet.
First responders putting their own lives on the line to get people out of the fire's path.
Sheriff's office!
It's devastating. It's devastating.
Entire communities leveled, their lives shattered.
What we went through, so it's pretty heavy.
Now, 1 year after surviving the firestorm, those who lived through the disaster remain resilient.
There's still a lot of healing. There's still a lot of trauma that we need to understand and kind of continue to move forward with.
This is Wine Country Rising. And thanks for being with us. I'm Nikki Lorenzo.
And I'm Eric Harriman. It was 1 year ago to the day that this is what thousands of families across wine country were having to deal with, what they were waking up to, their homes reduced to rubble, their memories burned to ash, just about everything that they knew gone overnight.
And after a year of investigating, CAL FIRE has not determined a cause for the most destructive wildfires in our state's history. The Tubbs fire destroyed 5,643 homes. 22 people died, making that wildfire the third deadliest ever here in California. And during last year's October wildfire siege, wine country was ravaged by numerous fires. Smaller fires merged, forming the Tubbs, Pocket, Nuns, and Atlas fires, which all raged for nearly a full month. 254 square miles in Napa, Mendocino, Solana, and Sonoma counties burned. 1 year later, many living in one of the hardest hit neighborhoods, they are still living in fear.
Fox 40's Joe Khalil is live for us tonight in Santa Rosa's Coffee Park with more on how these families are not just remembering that time, Joe, but also rebuilding in that process.
Yeah, rebuilding is the key word here. You know, when you think about areas that have been devastated by the Tubbs fire, nowhere comes to the forefront of most people's minds here in Santa Rosa than this Coffee Park neighborhood. You know, of the 5,600 homes or so that were destroyed, 1,300 of them were right here. Now, as you mentioned, there is a ceremony tonight. You're getting a look at a number of people who are out here. And what's really remarkable is the sense of resiliency that we're seeing in this neighborhood. You know, a number of people have come out here and developed their own Coffee Strong campaign. There are signs all over this area that reflect that. It's really just a big support group. A lot of people coming out here just making a statement that they're not alone. If you're struggling through this rebuilding process, you're not alone. We spoke to the organizer of the event tonight. Here's how she describes why this event is so important.
We're going to get together just for an hour and pause. We're not going to try to answer insurance questions. We're not going to answer permitting questions, but we're going to acknowledge that we've all been through something really terrible and that together we're leaning on each other to make progress. And I'm hoping that the event has just the right amount of poignancy, but hope as well.
Now you can see that there's a stage set up. Some people from the Sonoma County Philharmonic are going to be here playing music. There's also going to be poetry that's going to be read. And we have to remember that of the 22 people who died in the Tubbs fire, 5 of them died from this neighborhood. So there are 5 trees that are planted in their memory. Family members of those victims, I'm told, are going to be here as well. This is really about them, if you ask people here. Now, we mentioned progress. Certainly a lot of it has been made, and what we want to show you now is a view from above. And what you're seeing are 3 different views of this very Coffee Park neighborhood. One just a couple of days last year after this fire happened. Another at the 9-month mark, showing recovery, showing again rebuilding, and then the last image showing you what this neighborhood looks like from Drone 40 now. And you can see a remarkable sense of progress, and that really has given people a lot of hope. I want to run through some numbers for you as well. And this is just in terms of the rebuilding process from the city of Santa Rosa. So far, homes that have been completely rebuilt, 25. Currently, homes that are under construction at 743, and homes that are going to be rebuilt, permits that have been issued, 438. So again, signs of progress, and if you're in this neighborhood physically, if you can come back out here live, you're seeing it all around. Homes that are being rebuilt, and you can hear cranes, you can hear construction all day. Now, we have to mention that taking it outside of just this neighborhood, the bigger picture, in Sonoma County in general, the housing crisis was already a problem. There were already a shortage of housing, and that was really having effect on people and on the homelessness issue. And when you factor in that we had this devastating fire wiping out thousands of homes, that problem only became worse. Fox 40's Doug Johnson has a look at that story.
This is where I sleep right here at the back side of the back door, so I can get out faster and easier since I'm more younger, and it's more easier for me to get out the back than my mom can.
Jeremy Marney lives with his mother inside their van on Apollo Way in Santa Rosa.
These are for the window for the sun, so the sun doesn't come in the morning.
Their vehicle is just one of dozens parked here, each housing a family in crisis. Those with vans and RVs are the lucky ones. Others only have tents and boxes.
I never really noticed that many homeless people before until the fires happened.
This whole block full RVs, all the way down, all the way around there. There are like 80 or so.
And Hoffer has lived in this RV for the past 3 years, but he says in the past year, he's seen the number of homeless in Santa Rosa increase. He believes it's because finding affordable housing was next to impossible, even before the Tubbs fire struck.
Well, the place that I lived in before was, I was paying $710, they want $1,500, right? And it's a dump.
It's a ripple effect which could continue to force even more families out onto the streets.
So we predict that probably in the next year there will be a significant uptick in homelessness.
Jenny Lynn Holmes is the Senior Director of Shelter and Housing for Catholic Charities in Santa Rosa. She says there was already a 6% increase in homelessness in the first 6 months after the fires.
People who have entered the new rental market are pushing out our lower income, not because of any fault of their own, just because there's not enough housing in our community yet.
That's the issue. Building is happening here in Coffey Park, but it's not happening quick enough. And the people who would be living here are actually taking up rental properties elsewhere in the city. Now those with lower incomes aren't able to get properties to rent for themselves.
That is putting people into precariously housed situations where they're doubled up, tripled up, and eventually that becomes unsustainable. And that's when we see people enter the homeless system of care. It's typically a year or so after an initial crisis.
But Holmes says her group, Rebuilding Our Community, or ROC Sonoma County, has already rehomed more than 100 families. And she says there is a light at the end of the tunnel, as both the city and county have low-income housing projects coming soon.
There are a lot of affordable housing and housing construction being proposed, and what's exciting is it's being proposed for the first time and looking at density, looking at going up, you know, all of those things, and so that's where we can actually rebuild better than we were.
Meanwhile, Marney says he's not leaving Santa Rosa, no matter how tough the living situation gets.
Why stay here?
This is home.
In Santa Rosa, Doug Johnson.
My family and friends are here.
Fox 40 News.
We should mention that Sonoma County is instituting some programs to make sure that there are low-income people who aren't left out, but that they can also get assistance and be more competitive in trying to find new homes. Before we leave this area, this live ceremony here that's going to start, I just want to mention the numbers here. To my right, dozens of people, to my left and behind me, dozens of people here that are waiting for this ceremony to begin. So it, again, just shows you the resiliency and the togetherness of this neighborhood. Now, we can't forget first responders, because we have the people here who've lost homes, we have people who've lost loved ones, but we had first responders that came into this neighborhood on that fateful night 1 year ago who had to deal with these fires, who had to deal with these red flag conditions. Their story is one that sometimes is untold when we talk about victims, and again, people who really have to see devastation up close. So we're going to send it back over to Christina Warner in the studio for a really important perspective on that part of this story. Christina.
All right, thank you so much, Joe. Yes, we have Mike Mueller here from CAL FIRE. You were there that night of the Tubbs fire. I remember just forecasting we've got a red flag warning. We knew it'd be a dangerous situation, but this thing exploded.
Absolutely, and I was there towards the latter part as the sun was starting to rise. We were still experiencing those winds, but we were seeing areas that had gusts up to 108 miles an hour. In fact, crews, including City of Santa Rosa Fire Department, which was their jurisdiction, for the first 12 hours of that firefight, it was actually all about evacuation and getting people out of harm's way.
Yeah, there was no reason to even try to fight the flames,
We
right?
couldn't stop it. There was no stopping it.
So we just had to get as many people out as we possibly could. And then what about days after that, the subsequent days? It was still a huge firefight.
Absolutely. The winds subsided a little bit, but we kept seeing the winds pick up in the evenings, but there was still a major firefight. We had over 3,000 homes that were involved, businesses. The fire continued to grow even after that first, what we call a mountain wave wind.
Well, and I just want to reiterate, we were just talking, the importance now as we move forward, red flag warnings. This is a serious situation that really we're going to have to constantly deal with.
It is, and we didn't want it, for the public for it to fall, you know, like a white noise. You need to, when we issue a red flag warning through the National Weather Service, through the fire department, is you need to pay attention to that like it's a tornado warning in the Midwest or a hurricane warning on the East Coast. It is that important to be prepared.
Well, and you just said also that fires now, you used to see fires like this once every 25 years. Now how often?
It's, in fact, Chief Ken Pemlott of CAL FIRE, him and I were standing at the Carr Fire, and like you and I talked about, it's almost every fire we go to, we're seeing neighborhoods devastated. It's not the new normal. Unfortunately, right now, this is the normal with these devastating wildfires.
All right, we've got a graphic, too. I want to show this, if we can pop that up on screen, guys. So if you're looking at the most dangerous fires in California ever, the top 20, look at this. The month of October has had 11. A lot of people think at this point of the year, oh, fire season's over. Explain to us why that's just not the case.
It's not the case. I think what happens is we get into maybe some cooler temperatures and people think, oh, we're out of what we call fire season. There is no fire season, it's fire year. But the fall, we see some of the most devastating, even through December, some of the most devastating wildfires across the state.
Especially now because we're in that situation where we don't get that much rain. We're not dampening the ground enough. It's still dry.
That's exactly right. And we still haven't recovered from the drought. So those dead fuels have not come back, and the amount of rain we need to recover from that is just not there.
Okay, just this last weekend, we had the winds pick up once again. I'm sure a lot of people were on edge, were concerned, but it looked like crews were really in the right place at the right time. Do you think you guys have learned a lot just in how to position?
We do, and we continue to learn on a daily basis as first responders, regardless of the incident. But yeah, we look at peak areas, what we call micro forecasts, and where to position equipment. We're still at peak staffing throughout the state, but we also think that the public really reacted to that red flag warning and were prepared, and we continue to educate them, and I think that really helped.
So we're going to have to all work together, and it sounds like we're getting towards that.
We are. Education and prevention is the battle against wildfires, is being prepared before it hits.
Well, I think we all just thank all of you guys for all that you do.
Thank you.
So thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Guys.
All right, Christina, thank you. Coming up for you tonight, a very personal look back. Santa Rosa is my hometown. It's where I'm from. I went back to talk with my mom and dad and some very close family friends about what it's like to think back exactly 1 year ago today, the day that changed everything.
Plus, he used a garden hose to protect the wild animals living on his wildlife preserve. Hear how Safari West owners saved herds of animals as flames closed in. That and more still ahead in our Wine Country Rising special. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everybody. Appreciate you being here. Sonoma County faced a lot of criticism for not sending out an emergency alert for these fires. In the aftermath of those fires, we've learned why they chose not to do that. A review by the California Office of Emergency Services found that the system was very quickly overwhelmed and just plain not capable of handling a major disaster like this one. The separate report here urged the county to hire 2 new staff members specifically to lead the agency with that emergency warning system. I was born and raised in Santa Rosa. I was not there physically last year when the flames took over my hometown, but mentally and emotionally, I certainly was with my family and very close friends as they sat helplessly watching these fires come at them from 2 sides. This, what you're looking at here, is from Drone 40. This is my mom and dad's neighborhood in East Santa Rosa. It is still standing, certainly though not by much. A couple of days ago, I got to go home and talk to mom and dad and some very close family friends, not just about the fires and what happened that day and the days that followed, but what the process of recovery has been like now 1 year later.
Never forget it because it did. Started on my birthday. Everybody says, yeah, that was a lot of candles on your birthday. That's what did it.
Not exactly the birthday present Dad wanted, but after a few days of watching 2 fires burning right towards them in East Santa Rosa,
We knew that they were all burning fiercely. Just unbelievable.
things got real.
Get out now.
Real quick. Mom and Dad live on a hillside with a beautiful view most of the time.
See it? It's called a saddleback in the hills, and I saw the flames flickering up above through that.
Then it became clear what that flicker was.
That big orange glow all night, we watched that burn. That is Coffee Park burning.
Coffee Park, a place some of my family's best friends have called home for 40 years. We asked my dad to drive us there.
These houses imploded one after another from the heat. It looked like someone dropped a bomb.
But I wanted to make one stop along the way, Paradise Ridge Winery. Nestled at the top of the burning mountain, the winery where my wife and I got married 21 years ago. In a matter of hours, all that was left, burned out remnants of a place that will forever remind me of one of the best days of my life. I'm standing just below where this picture was taken 21 years ago, and while what I'm looking at in front of me is a very clear reminder of the tragedy that happened here, what's behind me is a very clear reminder of where we're headed. No better example of that than here, Coffee Park in West Santa Rosa.
On the right side over here, that's where the garage is. Okay. The entryway is right in the center here.
Jim and Donna Carlson were on vacation when the fire swept through.
There's a fire, there's a hydrant right outside of our house. I'm sure everything will be okay.
That wasn't the case. This is what was left of their View Court home where they raised their 3 kids.
This was a neighborhood that I did not recognize.
Yeah.
This was apocalyptic. This was like an atomic bomb.
It was like a war zone.
Out of that war zone, the Carlsons are rising. Just like the sign reads, View Court, Santa Rosa strong.
It still hits me from time to time.
Yeah.
I just want to go home. Well, this will be our new home, and that's what we're looking forward to. New, as a new beginning. Yeah.
As for Mom and Dad, they came back after a 4-day evacuation to a house still standing.
The fires were just popping up all around us, and we were in the center of it. It never got to us. Thankful? Yes.
Thankful, that is for sure. Donna and Jim told me that another monster job was dealing with their insurance company. For some needs, they were met immediately, very quickly. For others, they said it was more of a battle. But this is proof that things are going in the right direction. Look at this picture. This is from this past weekend. Friends and family, including my mom and dad, and joining them for a champagne toast at the site of their rebuild. That is a groundbreaking that they have been waiting a year for. And Donna and Jim, if you are watching this right now online, you guys make me proud of my Santa Rosa roots.
Gosh, seeing the resilience of this community, just
Remarkable.
incredible. CAL FIRE investigators are still looking into what caused the Tubbs fire, but PG&E has already been blamed for starting 13 October 2017 fires in Northern California, including the deadly Atlas fire. PG&E now faces more than 200 lawsuits from people impacted by these fires, which could force them to pay up to $15 million in liabilities. Last month, Governor Jerry Brown signed a bill allowing PG&E to pass on some of those costs to customers. The utility company earlier this year said if they were forced to pay that amount, they would likely go bankrupt.
Coming up, a ceremony here to remember not only people who've lost their homes, but people who have lost their lives. We're going to be talking to some people who have gone through that in this Coffee Park neighborhood. Continuing our Fox 40 Wildlife Special now. You know, 1 year ago, on some fronts, those wildfires were so intense and spreading so quickly that there were literally not enough resources, not enough fire engines to fight those fires on all fronts. Tonight, Fox 40's Rowena Shaddix takes a look at one wildlife reserve and talks to the owner of it, who had to take matters into their own hands.
We drove out through flames to get to Safari West.
Safari West owner Peter Lang recalls the night the devastating Tubbs fire erupted, threatening 400 acres of his wildlife preserve and the surrounding area, which included his home just a couple of miles away.
The Highway Patrol and sheriffs evacuated us. I disappeared, and stayed throughout the course of the fire. I was using tractors and forklifts and moving flammable material.
You yourself?
Oh yeah, yeah. I was here alone, I think, from 10:30 to 7:30 the following morning.
With one thought in mind: to save the lives of more than 80 species of animals.
I was responsible for 1,000 souls.
And Waldy is just one of the 1,000 souls that Peter was able to save from the big fire.
That whole mountain was burned down. About 150 acres on Safari West itself was burned as well.
We have so many animals and they did so much grazing that there wasn't much grass left in their pastures. So that was a major fire break.
Once the flames subsided and Safari West was safe again,
one of the first things I did was drive up to see if my house was still there. And it wasn't.
Now Peter and his wife Nancy are in the process of rebuilding their home.
We tried not to look back and just move forward.
As life at Safari West also moves on.
She just had a baby recently, actually. That baby is Remy, who is about 3 weeks old.
And patrons of the preserve can continue to see and enjoy familiar faces.
Much of this was burned down during the fire.
Because of faith, luck, and dogged determination, Safari West continues to be the treasure jewel of the Sonoma County community.
Good things happened. Yeah.
Good things happen to good people.
Maybe. Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. I'd like to think that.
In Santa Rosa, Rowena Shaddix, Fox 40 News.
Important to hear all of those stories. Now we are back out live. This is just the beginning. In a couple of minutes, this ceremony here in Coffey Park is going to begin for people who've not only lost homes, but for people who have lost their lives as well. And we actually have Pamela Van Helsema here, who started the Coffey Strong campaign. I'll ask you first, seeing all of these people out here, sort of what this means for you a year later, seeing all of these people here.
Well, I was one of the people, but we like to bring Jeff Okrepke's name forward because he really formed the group, and I was one of the early people who was part of that movement. But what it means is together we've shared a big experience, and it was a bad experience, the fire. But together we're problem solving and moving forward, and together we are caring about each other. Look at my neighbors. I didn't know most of these people before, but now I know them, and we're both helping each other and receiving help.
And to see the progress that's already been made, we have a number of homes that are under construction. Construction crews here all day, and that has to give you some sort of respite from this.
Normally, if the fire hadn't happened, we kind of complain about construction noise. It is music to our ears. When we hear houses going up and drills and shovels, we couldn't be more happy because it means we're getting our neighborhood back, and that's really what Coffey Strong's all about. Getting our neighborhood built and back to normal.
Pamela, we got about 10 seconds left.
Yeah.
Can you just sort of take us through what is going to happen here tonight?
Tonight we are going to take a pause and not think about insurance and not think about building contracts, but we're going to acknowledge in a quiet way everything we've been through together and breathe for a second.
I think together is that key word. That's what we're seeing here all day. So yeah. Pamela, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nikki, Eric, we're going to send it back to you on that note.
All right, Joe, thanks so much. Hearing her say construction's usually a noise that we don't want to hear, but that's music to their ears in that Coffey Park area. Yeah. Just incredible to see those people coming together.
Yeah, and a huge thank you to everybody who gave us some interviews for this special. Not always easy to recount that very difficult time. We appreciate you being here, and we'll see you right back here tonight at 10.